Right now we have Sam Houston State head coach Casey Keeler, who begins his third season with the Bearkats, coming off a national semifinal season in FCS play. Sam Houston is the coach's pick to win the league title in 2016. Joining Coach Keeler today are preseason second-team All-Southland Conference selection quarterback Jeremiah Briscoe and first-team defensive end P.J. Hall. Both will be playing their junior season this year. We'd also like to acknowledge that Sam Houston SID Paul Ridings is here if you have any interview requests. Coach Keeler, if you'd like to start us off with an opening statement about the upcoming season.
Sure, thank you. You know, expectations obviously very high coming off the season we had last year and a lot of returners, but you know, every season's brand new. We lost our defensive coordinator, lost our special teams coordinator, lost our strength coach, lost a defensive back coach, have a new fellowship of Christian athletes coming in. So every year's different. You know, one person can change a locker room. And that will be the talk I give our guys the first day of training camp is that I know expectations are high and they should be, but at the same time, you know, we're sort of starting from ground zero. We need to just kind of take it one day at a time and keep on getting better, grow as a team, and that you know, one individual in that locker room can change that locker room, and that you know, we need to grow as a team and hopefully have the season that we think we're capable of having. But I think the issue I'm going to have with this team after the 2 years we just got done having is that I think they can jump right to, you know, the playoffs and hopefully playing for a national championship. But we know how tough this conference is, and we know that there's a lot of work in front of us. But what I've seen this summer, I've been very happy with, and I'm excited to start the year.
Jeremiah, if you'd like to give some thoughts on the upcoming season.
I thought that our summer's been great. Coach Keeler's really been preaching to us really since the end of last season about getting that last 10%. And that's what we have printed on the back of our shirt, so we see it every single day this summer, that we're trying to get that last 10% in order to not just get to a national championship, but win a national championship. And I really think that if the things that we've implemented this year that have been different from years in the past, I think are going to help. And all in all, we had a great spring and great summer, and now it's time to get to the grind of camp.
PJ, your thoughts on the upcoming season?
Yeah, basically just tying in on what they both said is that we've been working hard, making sure we stay on task and give back that 10% that we know we haven't been able to give in order to get back to the national championship. And also just buying in, making sure we can't lose focus on each team in this conference because each team is getting better each year. So that's basically it.
Okay, we do have microphones on the floor, so if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get you a microphone, and just say your name and your news agency.
JP McBride with the Huntsville Item. Coach Keeler, you lost Ladarius Brown and Gerald Thomas at receiver and Mikel Everett and Trey Orr at corner. Are those the two position groups that you're either most concerned about or most interested in seeing how they play out in camp?
Yeah, if you look at our team, you know, besides those perimeter positions, we have almost everyone back. And, you know, we have some good young talent in the secondary, but we're going to have to see how training camp, you know, pans out. We have 5 guys that I think could start for us at corner. So that's going to be an interesting position to look at. Derek Dick came in from UTSA. He's going to help us at the slot position. That allows us to move Davian Davis outside with Grant Finney. And Grant played a lot of football for us last year, and Davian had a tremendous freshman year. So I think with the ability to move Davion outside now and the reps that Grant got, I think we do have 2 guys out there that are capable of play at this level and hopefully play at a high level. But yeah, those are the positions right now that if you look at our team are the ones that are, you know, have some question marks to it. Yes, sir.
I see Morrell, Port Arthur News. When you lost to Lamar last year, you were ranked number 3 in the nation, and you fell to 0-2 in the year. Then you went on a real big winning streak going into the McNeese State game. What did that game against Lamar do for you guys in terms of being able to, I guess, right the ship the way you guys wanted to all the way to the national semifinal?
Well, yeah, I think if you just look at the year before, we started off 1-3, and you know, we knew there was a lot of transition taking place, new offense, new defense, a lot of new players. And I think we kind of lived off that experience from the year before where we didn't panic. You know, I stood up in a team meeting when we were 1-3 and said, I still believe in this team. I wish I could say I didn't have good players. I have really good players. We just need to play better. And I think it was sort of the same thing. The difference maybe last year was the fact that, we had kind of gone toe-to-toe with Texas Tech. And for 2 weeks, all we heard was how we should beat Texas Tech if we didn't turn the ball over. And then Lamar comes in and plays one heck of a football game. It wasn't us not playing well as much as them playing at a very high level. And then us also maybe not playing as focused as we should have early in the game. I think we learned a valuable lesson that every team in this league is capable of beating you. And, we got beat that day on our field, and we don't lose a whole lot of games at home. And so I think in the long term, it was good for us because it really sort of brought us back in and refocused us. And I know, coming into this season, there are some lessons that we have learned, and one of those lessons is that anyone in this league can beat you. This is a very good football league. I mean, people don't realize the caliber of football in this league. A lot of it depends on staying healthy. I think if Lamar stayed healthy last year, they're fighting for a playoff spot. So, I think, this conference will match up with any of the conferences in the country. I think the top teams have better depth, and that's kind of separates the teams that are fighting for a conference championship and not fighting for a conference championship.
Coach Keeler, last year you had a quarterback battle through the early season, and this year it looks like Jeremiah is the guy. So does that kind of bode well for a better start early in the year?
Well, no, we were really happy. I say we're really happy. It's difficult to play two quarterbacks. But, I would say it all the time. I'm old school. I don't believe in playing two quarterbacks. But I have two quarterbacks, and I got to play both of them. And, what I found is that it was really great to have Jeremiah there and get the experience he got. And then when, Jared had some injuries and faltered a little bit in the playoffs, we just moved Jeremiah right in. He played great and won 3 playoff games. But at the same time, when Jared left, and Jared is as good a human being as I've ever been around. He's a terrific football player, and we're going to miss him deeply. But when he left, it gave Jeremiah an opportunity to take the team over. And what I realized at that point was that, Jeremiah has some incredible leadership skills that he was holding back on because he didn't think it was his place, because he really walked into a situation where it was Jared's team. And so, believe it or not, losing Jared, I think, possibly has been, I don't want to ever say a positive thing, because when you lose a great player, a great person, it's not a positive thing, but we're going to be different in terms of our leadership structure. I mean, Jeremiah has just taken this team over by the throat and has grabbed it and said, hey, this is the direction we're going. And that would have been really probably impossible for him to do that if Jared was still here. So, love Jared. We're going to miss Jared. One of the great kids I've ever had a chance to coach. But at the same time, I think it gives us a little different leadership dynamics because of Jeremiah's leadership skills and his style. And I think it's going to be really positive for us.
Jeremiah, kind of talk about what Coach Keeler just said. It's going to be your first year as the full-time starter at the quarterback position. So do you have any personal goals you've kind of set for yourself before camp?
No, my only goal is to win game 1 right now. But it is nice, or a little less stress, I guess, on my shoulders, knowing that this is I've kind of been able to finally mold a team into what I want it to be, at least offensively, and it's been nice. But I'm so competitive. I know that at this level, nothing is guaranteed. We have 2 great freshman quarterbacks behind me that they continue to push me just like Jared did, and so I can't take any days off. It doesn't matter. It really just comes down to still having to work just as hard every single day and pushing myself to get better. And that's the only way we're going to get to a national championship. So it's really been nice, but at the same time, that's nothing different. I can't look at it as anything different.
We were in the spring game, and Jeremiah was standing behind me as the second offense was going, and Caleb was in. Caleb had graduated early from Keeler High School and was taking the reps, and he just shook his head and he goes, I got 2 years of this. I mean, we have some really talented young quarterbacks. I mean, probably the 2 most talented quarterbacks of any FCS program in the country that we recruited 2 at one time. So we have 2 guys that we feel are really talented. One of our challenges is going to be getting those guys up to speed. So if something, he misses a game, we know we're going to have to play a freshman. There's just no way around it. But at the same time, two really talented kids. And it was nice that Caleb was here in the springtime, graduated early, so that gives us a little belief that he understands the system at a pretty good level. So.
Coach, Alex Hickey, Lake Charles, American Press. Is this the calmest you've ever been replacing a first-team all-conference quarterback?
Yeah, and, it's really interesting. You lose a great player of the year, and when Jared came in to see me, it was about 3/4 of the way through spring practice, and we just had a great talk, and he wanted to be the guy, and he saw how well Jeremiah was playing, and he knew he wasn't going to be just the guy. He was going to be one of two guys, and I was disappointed. And then that first practice, we went out there where Jeremiah was it was his team. I saw him grab one of our offensive linemen literally by the throat and say, hey, we're doing it this way. And I don't know if I've ever been prouder on a football field in that moment. And also the clarity that popped into my head that, wow, the leadership that I'm looking for is right there. And he's taken that from that moment forward. And it just shows the class that Jeremiah had by not overstepping his bounds when he first got here, because it was Jared's team and it should have been Jared's team. And he had no problem competing with Jared, but in terms of the leadership role, he was going to have to take a little bit of a backseat on that. And that first practice, when I saw him do that, it was like, you know what? This kid gets it, and I think he can lead us a long way. So I have a really strong belief in Jeremiah's talent, but I have as strong a belief, or if not stronger belief, in his leadership skills. And I think that's going to bode really well for us. We talk about that 10%, and that's something for the springtime to kind of get in the kids' imagination of, what's it going to do, what do we need to do to win a national championship? And I said, there's so much of it's here, but for some reason, we've been 10% short, and we need to find that 10%, and that 10% is really hard to get. Are we going to get it in the weight room? Are we going to get it because we play clean? Or are we going to get it because of better leadership? I'm hoping part of that 10% is going to be because of his leadership. So, I feel pretty good. And the other thing that gives me some confidence is watching Caleb Griffin play in the spring. He's pretty talented now. He will have to do everything he can to hold him off. So we feel really good that we have some good young talented quarterbacks on the roster, and we're excited to work with them this fall to get them up to speed.
Jeremiah, you came off the bench to win the playoff game here in December, and apparently not afraid to challenge offensive linemen. Is fearlessness your greatest trait, you would say, or one of your biggest strengths?
I don't know if it's fearlessness, but it's just that I wouldn't say it's that I don't care, but it's more just that if I see something that I'm very competitive, and if I see something that I feel like I can grasp as something that I'm going to go after, and whatever happens in doing it, it doesn't really matter. So it's kind of hard to explain, but I would say fearlessness is probably a good way to put it. But I think really it's just being so close to getting to where we want to be to win a national championship that you can taste it and just feel it, and it's all you think about and all you want. That's really kind of my drive into what makes me do those things. But coming off the bench to win a playoff game or grabbing an offensive lineman, they're one and the same. It's just the way that we got to go about things in order to win a national championship.
Jeremiah, you just talked about being so close to winning the national championship and getting to the national championship game. We understand how the season ended against Jacksonville State, and I guess you can answer, and I guess PJ can answer. What do you take from that experience against Jacksonville State that maybe drove you or is driving you going into the season?
Well, I would say that day we played probably our worst game offensively, and they played a flawless game. You can't expect to even beat a high school team turning the ball over 5 times. But I think the biggest learning point for us is that we're not untouchable. I mean, there's teams out there that are just as talented as we are, And whenever you run into a team that's just as talented as you are, you have to go above and beyond preparation-wise and discipline-wise in order to beat those teams. And we didn't do that day. And that's something that it was kind of a slap in the face that, hey, this is real, this is what it's going to take. And so I think our team's kind of taken notice of that, and it was the most miserable game of my entire life. And it's something I won't ever forget.
Yeah, basically the same thing. We knew after coming off that loss, that was one of the first losses I've had here at Sam Houston, and it left a very bad taste in our mouth, especially for the seniors going out, because we knew they wanted it so bad. And so we knew that we couldn't just go out there and just play with anybody just because of our talent. We knew now we have to work hard, we have to prepare the right way in order to get back to the national championship and compete with the best.
PJ, you guys have the last 2 years had that bounce back game, I guess. Just, why do you think this team finds itself in that position, or has these past couple of years, where you have the tough loss and then you guys just reel off a bunch of wins in a row after that?
Basically, at the beginning of the season, we're probably not as focused. We probably look too much into the rankings and stuff, and that's what we have to stop focusing on. We have to let the rankings take care of itself by the way that we prepare and the way that we play each and every game, and that will take care of itself at the end of this season.
This one for Coach Keeler. There's been a number of linebackers and receivers up there today on Media Day. I guess, what position, as you look around the league, would you consider the deepest?
Wow. I think possibly running back. I mean, we have a great running back. Boy, our kid's really special. But you turn on that Lamar film, you're going to see a performance that just was mind-boggling. And my wife was sitting there, and they were going through introducing the players, and she looked and said, "That's the guy who ran up and down the field?" I said, "Yeah, that's the guy who ran up and down the field on us." But I would say there's a lot of positions that have a lot of talent, but I think there's probably two of the best running backs in the country in this league. Corey Avery, he's really good. Boy, he's really good. He shared time and had 1,400 yards. And he's been really pushed this summer. And one of the best things that has happened to him is Javin Webb and Remus Bolmer. Remus Bolmer looks phenomenal. And Javin Webb transferring from Houston looks phenomenal. And our strength coach has noticed that Corey has kind of look back, looking over his shoulder, because he sees those guys, and it's the best shape that Corey's ever been in. So I think in this league, there's two of the best running backs in the country. They both legitimately could be first-team All-Americans. So.
PJ, you guys are returning Sione and Luis Carino, and should be getting Mu Fadabo back, and along with yourself. What do you think you guys are capable as a defensive front?
As a defensive front, we're capable of taking over the game. We know we have depth and we all have experience. So in order for that, our defense to be dominant, we know that we're going to have to be dominant up front too in order to take over the game.
This is probably one of the best defensive lines I've ever brought back. It's an impressive group, and it's a deep group too. So we'll play 8 defensive linemen, and they all can play.
Coach Keeler, you spoke a little bit about Corey Avery a second ago. Having him sharing time last year, he didn't get too many games where he got 20 touches or more. Is that something you are looking to do, or would you rather share to keep him fresh?
I would think he'll have the same amount of carries this year. In our system, we're hoping to play. We had 118 snaps against Southern Utah. Had 108, I think, against Texas Tech. I mean, we want to get 100 snaps, and we want to play 15 or 16 games. So you do the math, and that's a lot of ball. And running backs can't take those kind of hits for an entire season, that many carries. So we would love to keep Corey in that 15 to 20 carry range on a regular basis. And I feel really good that we have a lot of depth at the running back spot. Remus had a great year last year, had 400-plus yards in spot duty. He looks great. He had a great spring and looks terrific right now from the weight workouts. And like I said, Javin Webb, we think the guy's going to come in and compete for a starting spot. So, yeah, I mean, we're hoping to play 3 or 4 running backs, and that's what we have to do in our system.
Any other questions for Coach or the student athletes? Go ahead.
Jeremiah, you guys lost Donald Jackson and Zach Stevens up front, 2 guys who have been at Sam for a long time. What do you see from this year's offensive line group just during summer workouts that maybe makes you think you won't lose any production?
Well, anytime you lose a 4-year All-American and a 4-year starter, it's going to be hard to replace them. But the good thing about our offense and the way we do things is we play 8 to 10 offensive linemen a game. And so we get a lot of guys experience early on. And, I mean, we had Mitchell Wananabe, who played a lot last year. He's kind of taken over that left tackle role for Donald Jackson, and he's done great. He looks good, and then all we did was just move Bridge Blunt over from guard to center. And so it really is, as 2 pivotal pieces as DJ and Zach were, losing them was hard, but replacing them really wasn't that hard with how we manage our offense, which is something that I think really benefits us.
Yeah, Mitchell's probably the best freshman offensive lineman I've ever seen. 6'3". We got him at 350 pounds. He's down about 330 now. I mean, he's just really talented. And he was a guy who rotated as a starter last year, but he was the one who played left and right. And then we get Brandon DeWitt back, who started for us as a sophomore, then missed almost all of last year. So we started 9 offensive linemen last year, have 7 coming back, and you add DeWitt. You know, I think the offensive line is actually going to be one of our strengths, even though we lose 2 really good football players.
If there's no more questions, the coach and the student athletes will be available in the foyer for one-on-one opportunities before they head over to television. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.